Now, a real-time strategy game that I cannot wait to get my hands on is called Dustfront. The action takes place on a planet devastated by many wars and upheavals, where under a thick layer of soot and concrete, the remnants of humanity's former might is buried. Overwhelm your enemies, whether they be mutants or enemy machines, with cannon fodder, or stomp them into the Stone Age with carpet bombing on the lifeless fields of Dustfront. There will be 4 factions: the Empire, mutants, robots, and rebels. The names of some of these factions are still a work in progress, as is the game, but what I am definitely looking forward to is that 3 of these factions will have rare super weapons that can wipe cities to dust, turn them into a breeding ground for incurable diseases, or move entire armies straight into the chasm. It's a classic RTS with grand strategy elements and is set to have a non-linear campaign in a procedural world. Now you might be wondering, well, what does that all even mean? Well, non-linear gameplay presents players with challenges that can be completed in a number of different sequences, giving them much greater freedom, compared to a linear game in which players are confronted with a fixed sequence of challenges where every player faces every challenge and has to overcome them in the same order. It gives me vibes of the good old times of Command & Conquer Red Alert, where you got to choose between 1 or 2 territories to take next. Now imagine how cool a game would be where if you took one territory, that affects your next missions in terms of army, resources, or even the strategies available. Well, that's exactly what Dustfront looks like it's going to achieve. Taking things even further, the world of Dustfront expects to be procedural. Now what this means is that the world will be built automatically within the confines of certain parameters, but it will be different each time you play it. For example, you could expect the map to change each time you load a mission. Now it's certainly looking like a monumental task to develop this kind of game, especially just for one developer, but he's been at it for several years now and the progress seems really good. If Dustfront is sounding really good to you at the moment, well, I would agree with you. Inspired by Command & Conquer, Dawn of War, Dark Crusade, but with a much more complex global mode, perhaps closer to the Total War series. But what sets Dustfront apart from all these other games is the art style and graphics, and well, I gotta say, I absolutely love it. It's got that dark, gritty environment, but with the units still being very visible with the diesel punk art style. The game's got those epic battlefields, with the asymmetric factions having truly different but awesome identities. I mean, look at these absolutely badass units, some sort of siege tank maybe, and this 3-headed mutant being protected by a swarm of worms / cockroach bugs, I'm not too sure what they are, but they look pretty cool. And then the building animation on this Empire faction structure, not to mention these really cool looking robots firing their lasers. Now that was awesome, right? Well, the game has got something for everyone, and that's just showing clips of 3 out of the 4 factions that Dustfront will have. Now I have so much more that I do want to share with you all about Dustfront, but before I do, if you have been enjoying the content on the channel, make sure you've hit the subscribe button, and more importantly, hit the notification bell, as I'm hoping to keep you all updated with the best and latest of all the strategy games every week. As always, I appreciate the support. Now back to Dustfront. As you'd expect from most RTS games, in Dustfront you'll have plenty of army creation tools at your fingertips, with an arsenal of tanks, aviation, infantry, and vehicles of various purposes at your disposal. There will of course be base construction and resource gathering, with factories for the production of vehicles, refining minerals, and barracks with storage facilities. But where Dustfront takes things to the next level once again is with all buildings being important on the global map, as well as your current mission map. Let me explain this a little bit further. So, in Dustfront, you'll need to discover the value of your power on the global map. The global map is essentially the world of Dustfront. You'll control certain territories, and you'll need to defend them with your might. There will also be enemy-controlled territories to conquer. The territories that you control, your researchers, merchants, mercenaries, and garrisoned units will all contribute to your global economy and power. Mining and production within each territory affects your economic situation, with resources mined being stored in silos, whilst merchants with resources and mercenaries with unique units can also appear on the global map. When you attack an enemy territory, you'll even be able to send reinforcements from neighbor territories that you control to aid your war efforts in that mission. Beware though, as in the captured regions, news events happen in which you will participate through mini dialogues. On a broader scale, you'll have technology branches to leverage where you can unlock new units and buildings, improving and equipping them with more modern ways of destruction. Your units that can survive can gain ranks, and with access to garrisons, your troops can be moved from battle to battle in a strike group or be as part of a defensive garrison, giving you the ability to lead veterans from start to end, either assisting your war efforts on the field or protecting the territories that you already control. Now, whilst Dustfront is a real-time strategy game at heart, there is turn-based movement and simultaneous planning required on the global map. Major actions take place in turns, and so you'll need to plan your actions in advance and anticipate enemy maneuvers to be in the right place at the right time. Dustfront is planning to be a single-player game only, and I for one am actually very happy about that. We've had way too many real-time strategy titles releasing where their primary focus has been online multiplayer. We already know that the vast majority of real-time strategy gamers play the single-player or co-op modes. And yet, because the multiplayer-focused players are usually the loudest, and there is nothing wrong with that by the way, you really should advocate for what you like playing, it's often that the game mode that gets focused on by developers is the multiplayer mode. And well, guess what? The player base just usually isn't large enough, so the game dies, and then the cycle repeats. Games need to cater to their wider audience, and focusing on the single player is definitely going to cater to the vast majority of the existing real-time strategy gamers, so for me, this is a great decision by the developer. At release of Dustfront, the game will only have one campaign for the Empire faction, as the developer is trying to make it complete and polished. Again, quality, not quantity. I like it. Even better news though, is that depending on the success of the project, campaigns for the mutants, robots, and rebel factions could also be added to the game, for example in a DLC or a regular update. You heard that, fellas? Success of the project means more content. One way you can help ensure the game's success is by wishlisting it on Steam. What is really cool though is that whilst the campaign will only really be focusing on the Empire, it is also possible that the game will have a skirmish mode with bots where you can play as the factions not represented by the campaign. Now, as with many games in development, there's often frequently asked questions. Let's go through them. So, when asked how long will one playthrough take, for someone who knows everything in the game, it can take about 6 to 8 hours. But that's only of right now. Considering this question was asked in October 2023, it's quite likely the project may have expanded. Having said that anyway, because aspects of the game is procedurally generated and the campaign is non-linear, I imagine the game could be played at least a few times and still feel very fresh. As to whether there will be a demo, there might be a demo version of Dustfront at some point, especially during one of the Steam Fests, but that's nothing confirmed. There's perhaps more even a stronger plan towards closed beta tests. Will there be other languages supported? Whilst only the English localization of the game is being worked on currently, there probably will be other localizations as well in the future. And the question I'm sure you're all wondering the answer to is, when will Dustfront be released? Well, the game is made by one developer who goes by the name Demon, and he is funding it alone with his own money, so he suspects that it wouldn't be released for another year, but things can take longer. Now, this answer was actually back in October 2023 by the way, but honestly, I think him taking his time to release a polished product is an awesome choice. So, with Dustfront, there will be no peace on Earth while the Empire's enemies roam it. Countless mutants, robots with far superior technology, rebels attacking us from the rear, and conspiracies we know nothing about. Do we have anyone else that is loyal more than the army, or do we have no allies at all? I hope you guys enjoyed this sneak peek into Dustfront, and if you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.